Kevin J Johnston, the #1 name in the land of the North, he's risen to fame. 40 years deep in the law he's read. Now the CRA shakes in fear and dread. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J Johnston, the fight doesn't end. Corporate debt, he'll make it all good. He's the man the CRA misunderstood. They vanish like mist when Kevin shows up with his legal fist. No more matching, no more lies, just clean-cut books and clear blue skies. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J Johnston, the rules start to bend. The CRA can scream and shout, but Kevin knows how to throw them out. They claim they've got the final say, but Kevin proves there's a better way. He fights for truth, he fights for you, and teaches what the courts won't do. Forever today. Let Kevin J Johnston show you the way. The expert, the rebel, the man with a plan. He's saving this nation, one client per hand. He's got 40 years of tax law knowing and corporate skills that keep cash flowing. GST, payroll, all in line. He'll save your neck and every dime. He studied law, both civil crime, and makes tax code sound so sublime. With stand-up jokes and punchlines tight, he makes your seminar a night of light. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North, Kevin J. 2 million women cast their vote, said Kevin's hot, that's all she wrote. The suits at CRA can't compete, he's beaten them clean without deceit. 100 mil he's saved so far, he's raising truth like a legal star. And if you think you owe the state, he'll show you how to terminate. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared,
Kevin J Johnston here. Welcome to the Tax and Money Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. Tonight is episode 102. Want to see real tax truth? We're going to talk about tax truth and a little bit about the law and how we utilize the law to fight the criminals at the Canada Revenue Agency. And yes, for those who are curious, I am still buying Instagram and TikTok channels. So if you have an Instagram channel or a TikTok channel that has followers, preferably the Western Hemisphere, preferably North America, please do get a hold of me. I'm going to put cold, hard cash in your hands for that. All right, everyone, let's just get right into this. The reason that we are putting on tonight's show is I have had to write and rewrite. Oh, hey, down bad, I'll take it. Get a hold of me on my website, kevinjjohnston.com. I've had to write and rewrite legal letters many, many times over the last 2 years with the CRA. For those who are joining us from the USA and from everywhere else around the world, the Canada Revenue Agency is the criminalistic, Hitleristic tax, we'll call them tax corporation, that is mandated to steal as much money from the Canadian public as it possibly can, working outside of the bounds of the law, and we fight them. In fact, for whatever the reason, even though the average Canadian seems to know that the CRA is not the American IRS, and even though Canadians seem to know that the CRA do not carry guns when they go out, and we all seem to know the CRA doesn't sneak into your windows when you're sleeping, people are still absolutely terrified of these creatures. And I don't understand fear in one's adult life. In fact, I don't respect it. So every single episode, I'm bringing more and more information to all of you so you do not fear the so-called tax authority. In Canada, there is no such thing as a tax authority. There's a bunch of losers who work for a corporation called the Canada Revenue Agency. Losers. How did Jim Carrey say it? That's what they are. They're junk, they're garbage. I don't consider them people, and I consider them toys for me to play with, which is exactly what I do. Mandy, please save all your questions for the second hour because we have a lot to get through. Now, everybody, for those who are in financial difficulty, if you've got a corporation in Canada and you have huge debt, HST debt, GST debt, PST, payroll, income tax, bank loans, credit cards, my lord, lawsuits, judgments, municipal, federal, provincial fines, any debts at all that are corporate based, what I do with everybody is I buy the corporation. I get the whole thing. I get all of your debt. That's right. All of it comes over to me. And we've expanded this exact procedure into Australia. And now we are doing this in the United States of America. So for my American friends who have corporate debt, let me know because we just figured it out. All right. The system now works in 3 different countries. But in Canada, because that is my main focus, mainly because I've studied Canadian tax code and tax law for the last 41 years now. I know how to smoke the CRA in every way imaginable. So what happens here is a client will sell their corporation to me, and the CRA realizes, oh man, Johnston bought another one. We're never going to get paid. So what they choose to do is ignore my legal letters stating that I'm now the legal owner of the corporation and to leave the previous owner alone. They send out notices to the previous owner to try to scare them. Now, whenever you own a corporation, if you are the director and the CRA sends you a letter saying pay us GST or pay us whatever, they'll always have the name of the corporation and the director's name on there. So John Smith will always be listed if John Smith is the director. Once I take the corporation over, they'll still send you letters. It's one of their last ditch efforts to try to get paid. However, your name will no longer be on it. It'll just be the corporation. And at that point, I get on the phone with the CRA representative and yeah, I threaten them with legal action. It's a threat. I intend to carry through. What I'm going to do now, this is a letter that we wrote, and I'm not going to read it verbatim because it's very long. It is also very legal, and it does a very good job getting rid of the CRA. Client sold me a corporation, and the CRA chose to continue to pester and harass the client of ours, the person who sold us the corporation. So in this letter that I wrote, I'm going to break down what it is you are allowed to do and allowed to say and what kind of threats you're allowed to issue in Canada to the jerks at the CRA. Why am I buying corporations? Because everyone gets a benefit from it. I make money, and whoever has corporate debt gets rid of all their corporate debt. That's why I do this. There's big money in debt. I love debt. Canadians don't like debt. They're all terrified of it, but I love this stuff because debt is how you get wealthy. All right, everyone. Please save all your questions for the second half of the show. So what happened here is I had to write a letter to an individual at the CRA named Lucas Farito. Yeah, we're hunting him down now. Once I've got his home address, of course I'm going to publish it. Not in a doxing fashion, but legally by sending him a cease and desist letter and then registering that letter with the courts, at which point I am allowed to show the world. Because as soon as I register anything with the courts, it's a public document. There we go. So Lucas Farito calls himself a trust examination officer. It's a fancy way of saying this guy tries to get HST, GST, and payroll debt from you. That's pretty much all his job is. And he'll phone you and lie to you and needle you and harass you and bother you. He'll tell you things like they're going to take your house, they're going to take your bank account, we're going to take your car. From time to time, they'll say stuff like, we'll take your pets, we'll take your children. They'll say all kinds of things. I remember when they told my parents back in the 80s, oh, you'll never drive a car again. We're going to pull your driver's license forever. Of course, my parents were stupid and they listened to all that, as were most people back in the 70s. They'd listen to anything the government said. And I'm telling all of you, listen to nothing the government says. This guy is a thief and a liar. So I'm telling him that I have a notice directed to this clown about a wrong address and the wrong party. So I'm saying the notice dated on February 3rd of 2026 is addressed to XYZ Corporation at 123 Never You Mind Street in None of Your Business City in the province of Ontario. And it's what this guy is doing is demanding attendance. He's saying that he wants to come to the client's address. All right. So here's what I tell him. CRA has been previously notified that XYZ Corporation underwent a change of ownership and control. In fact, this is the third time we are informing you directly. The corporation is no longer owned, operated, or controlled by the previous directors and or shareholders. The previous ownership has no legal connection to the current corporation and bears no liability for tax obligations. Now, the reason it is so important to state this is that every single time you have to send a threat letter to someone or a legal notice, you have to tell them this is the second sending, third sending, fourth sending, and so on. Why? Is so that when you do eventually take them to court, you can show the judge, here's the first one, here's the second one, here's the third one. They're just not paying attention. And at that point, you'll find that judges have very little patience for government agencies that don't abide by their own rules. For now anyway, it's going to change. I'm sure that every judge in Canada is going to be bought off soon. But this is what they will do. They will try their very best to show that the court has a little bit of integrity. You don't want to be someone who's been given 3 or 4 legal notices. Judges don't like that, even if it's a CRA. So I go on to say, Black's Law Dictionary, and I do rely on this a lot, second edition defines notice as information concerning a fact actually communicated to a person by an authorized person or actually derived by him from a proper source. I have to go on to tell him that for this notice, when he's harassing my client for money, this notice to be effective must be directed to the correct legal person or authorized representative. Also must be delivered to the proper address of record and reasonably calculated to reach the party with legal authority and responsibility. And I tell him flat out, the CRA's notice to the old owner fails all 3 requirements. This is something that you need to comprehend in Canadian law, everybody. And I'm sure the USA is very similar. There are tests that you cannot fail if you're trying to win a case, and that is especially if you are in government. If something fails in your assertion of a situation, then your assertion is asinine and incorrect. We have to always make sure that we're showing government officials who write these threatening letters to us that they're wrong and that they failed. And when somebody continues to send mail, threats, demands for tax dollars to the wrong person, they are failing in their capacity to issue a lawful notice. Now, what would be the point of me contacting your grandmother who lives in, let's say, Albuquerque, New Mexico, for a debt that you incurred with me in Winnipeg, Manitoba? It wouldn't make any sense, and I would actually be in violation of criminal law at that point. And you don't want to do that in the United States, by the way. Don't harass old ladies in the USA. You go bye-bye for a few months, probably 6 or 7. So in point B, in this real tax letter that I sent, I'm saying that the share purchase agreement and the change of ownership, XYZ Corp was subject to a share purchase agreement resulting in complete transfer of ownership and control. Following the transaction, the previous directors and shareholders ceased to have any legal interest in, control over, or responsibility for the corporation. So when I buy your company from you and I take all your debt from you, that's it. It's over. There's no more debt for you. Doesn't matter what the CRA's opinion is. The CRA is full of morons, and the opinions of morons mean nothing to me and nothing to the courts. The corporation records, books, accounts, and business operations were transferred to the new ownership. Correct. So would I buy a corporation from any of you to get you out of your debt? I get all your minute books. I get all your accounting. I get the client lists. I get all the emails. I get everything. I get all of it. It's all mine, which would mean that the CRA has to chase me for whatever it is that they are looking for. Next, the CRA was notified of the change of ownership, including updated address and contact information for the current directors and authorized representatives. Yeah, as soon as I buy a corporation, kaboom! I tell the CRA, company's been sold. I'm the new owner. I'm the new shareholder, new CFO, new CEO, new this, new that, new everything. And you must communicate with me and me alone. And we send that by registered mail, which they sometimes pick up and sometimes they don't. So the backup is that I send mail to the Canada Revenue Agency by UPS, no signature required, because at least then UPS will state that they delivered it. And the CRA wants to play games, no problem. We'll play games right back. I also tell this guy the previous directors are no longer officers, have no signing authority, and have no access to corporate records. Also true. Very, very true. When I buy your corporation, that's it. Like you lose everything, which is good for you because you no longer have any legal obligation to anyone, including, let's say, your mother gave a loan to the corporation. Sorry, Ma, but you have to come to me for the money because they're no longer the owner of it. And the CRA has no right to chase anybody who is not the owner of a corporation. I mean, come on, guys. Imagine me trying to go to Steve Jobs because Microsoft owed me monies. All right, think about that. It wouldn't work, not now and not ever. So I'm saying to this clown, no books, records, invoices, bank statements, or other documents demanded in the notice reside at or are accessible from the addresses listed in the CRA's letter, to which they deliberately kept the old address. So when you sell me your corporation, I update the address. And when the CRA continues to send mail there, naturally, of course, they are not doing it lawfully. They've been informed, update your records, idiots. They don't do it. They're actually in violation of the law. And we're going to cover that. In fact, let's cover it now. Black's Law Dictionary, second edition. Keep in mind, this is the letter that this CRA representative got. So Black's Law Dictionary defines harassment as a course of conduct directed at a specific person that causes substantial emotional distress in such person and serves no legitimate purpose. If I do not owe you money and you are sending me letters and making phone calls to me saying that I do, that serves no purpose except to be a thief. So that would mean, everybody, that this guy is in violation of the criminal harassment law and could be sued for tort harassment. And tort harassment is the law that I got created for all of you back in 2022. You're welcome, by the way. Start using it. So it also says that intimidation is an unlawful coercion, extortion, duress, or putting in fear. All right. So the CRA is going to continually try to make sure that you are in a state of fear, because they know that people who are in a state of fear make mistakes, gross mistakes that cost you money and make money for them. Yes, this is all in the letter that this guy got. So I'm reading to you now everything that we tell the CRA on a regular basis, because this is real tax law. This is the way taxes really work. This is how life really works, everybody. Accountants and tax lawyers won't tell you any of this. And I don't know why, aside from to state that they're all afraid of the CRA. And adults who feel fear over paperwork are not adults at all. They're just children hiding under the bed. So by directing this notice to the address associated with former ownership, despite having been informed of the ownership change, the CRA is attempting to harass and intimidate individuals who have no legal connection to the current corporation, creating false impressions that the former directors or shareholders bear liability for the current GST and HST obligations, engaging in improper collection tactics by targeting parties without legal responsibility, and deliberately ignoring information provided to the CRA regarding proper service addresses. This conduct is oppressive, unlawful, and constitutes an abuse of process. It's completely illegal. So with the CRA continuing to send letters out to people that no longer own corporations and no longer have any legal obligation to corporations that I purchase from them, the CRA will continue until we stop them dead in their tracks, which we always do. They always give up. C is the legal effect of a misdirected notice. A notice directed to the wrong party at the wrong address when CRA has actual knowledge of the correct party and address is void ab initio and confers no legal obligations. So it just in Latin simply means no obligation. There is absolutely no way that someone sending a bill to you when you don't owe the money, especially to the wrong person at the wrong address, puts the wrong person at the wrong address under any obligation whatsoever to even acknowledge it, let alone pay it. So think about that. Black's Law Dictionary defines void as null, ineffectual, negatory, having no legal force or binding effect, unable in law to support the purpose for which it was intended. Yeah, you cannot ask for money from the wrong person. It's not lawful. It's void. The threat is void. And I'm telling this clown that all of his threats are void and to leave my client alone. So his February 3rd notice, which was just full of threats, was not served. So it's void because it was not served on an authorized representative of the current ownership group. It demands attendance at a premises where no corporate records exist. Yeah, this guy says, I'm going to show up at your door. No, you're not. And 3, it seeks to compel attendance of individuals and former directors who have no legal authority or obligation. Wow. Number 4, CRA had actual knowledge of the ownership change and proper contact information, but deliberately misdirected the notice. Yeah, it's what they do. The Canada Revenue Agency, they believe themselves to be immune to law because they have something called Crown immunity. Crown immunity simply means if someone sues the CRA because of the actions of a member of the CRA will cover the legal expenses to fight it in civil court. It does not protect them from criminal acts at all. So you hear me, CRA? I know you losers watch this show. You are not protected by your government for any criminal acts that you commit. You're certainly not protected from me. When I find your home address, you will be served legal documentation, and under no circumstances am I going to keep any of that secret because I'm not legally obligated to keep a public document out of the public view. Got it? Of course you don't. So the taxpayer is under no obligation to respond to, comply with, or attend any examinations pursuant to this void notice. I mean, think about the audacity of these idiots who work for the CRA, who send letters to you saying, we're going to show up at your address at 10 a.m. on this date, and you are going to have 60 things ready for us to look at. I find myself wondering why it is no one's got boiling hot tea, just waiting for them to throw in their face or something. I'm wondering, Jesus, please tell me why people don't do that. You're not coming to my house, CRA. Not now, not ever, because, well, I'm in a different jurisdiction. One where if you did decide to show up and I feel even this much threatened, I can shoot you. Yeah, I live in a country with castle law. You try to kick my door down, I can put a bullet through the door without you even opening it. It's wonderful. That is what we need in Canada. We absolutely need those laws. So part 2 of that is the introduction and substantive objections. Without prejudice to the preliminary objection above and assuming arguendo that a valid notice I got a violation warning. I'm not allowed to talk about castle law, I guess. I got a violation notice. All right, can everyone still see me? Just let me know if you can still see me. I got a violation notice. Oh, God, the world is just so soft, isn't it? Everyone's just so wimpy and soft. They're afraid of absolutely everything, aren't they? It's annoying, isn't it? So I tell them that assuming arguendo that a valid notice were properly served on the current ownership at the correct address, XYZ Incorporation, the taxpayer, would object to the examination as framed on the following additional grounds. Now, this is some, not all, but some of the reasoning that I will give to auditors when I tell them, you're not coming to audit me or my client. The notice fails to establish a statutory precondition of the exercise of authority under Section 288 of the Excise Tax Act. Yeah. So if an auditor is going to come to your house, you can argue Section 288. Why? You haven't determined anything. It's a fishing expedition. If they're looking for something specific, they would have to tell you they're looking for something specific. You're still under no legal obligation to show it to them. You're under no legal obligation to let the CRA into your house. And I mean at all. 2, the minister has not satisfied the burden of proof to require the justification of the scope of the examination demanded. True. So if the CRA says, you cheated on your taxes and we're coming to your house and you're going to show us everything. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Whoa. You got to say, whoa. What's the accusation? What did I do wrong? Start there. But I don't know. My supervisor wants me to do it. All right. So because you do not know what I've done wrong, that means I've done nothing wrong. You can't prove that I've done something wrong. You don't even know that I have done something wrong. But even then, let's say I did. I'm not going to tell you that. And I am most certainly under no circumstances going to cooperate with the CRA in any way. There is no benefit to cooperation with the Canada Revenue Agency. Number 3, the notice improperly characterizes this as a trust accounts examination without factual or legal foundation. True. So trust accounts means GST for our American friends. That's the federal goods and services tax in Canada. Harmonized sales tax, HST, and also payroll source deductions. So these trust examination individuals have that title because the Canada Revenue Agency has designated those taxes to be in trust for them. I never signed a contract. Just for the record, CRA, I've never signed a contract with you stating that I'm going to collect trust money on your behalf and actually give it to you. I've never agreed to that. Why would I agree to something so egregiously foolish? There's no obligation to me, and there's no benefit to me. If there's no benefit to me, there's no obligation to me. It's a circular argument, but I'm still going to use it. So this trust accounts examination, they need to know what they are looking for in advance. They need to know that you did collect goods and services tax or payroll tax. They need to know how much. They got to know everything in advance before they do the examination. I shit you not. That's what they must do. And if they cannot prove to you in any way, shape, or form that they know what they're looking for and they actually said it to you in writing, you don't have to cooperate. You don't have to cooperate anyway, but you're just going to tell them you failed to meet the criteria. Number 4, the demands made exceed lawful authority and constitute an improper fishing expedition. You're damn right. You have the constitutional and the charter right to not be pestered by people in unreasonable seizures and searches. And the CRA are not cops. They never show up with warrants. So why would you tell them anything? You don't have to tell them anything. So I state that the taxpayer reserves all rights and does not waive any privilege, limitation period, or defense by responding to this notice. I'm responding to this guy so that I can stick all this legalese in his face and make sure that he understands. Dude, we're watching you. Now, please try to come into this place. You know what's going to happen. A, the minister bears the onus to justify the exercise of authority. Black's Law Dictionary defines burden of proof as the necessity or duty of affirmatively proving a fact or facts in dispute on an issue raised between the parties in a cause. There you go. So, hey, you and you stole my socks. Well, before I can do anything about it, I'd better be able to prove that you did. I mean, making an accusation makes me look foolish if I can't prove it in any way. Because what would happen here, I go to the cops and I say, this guy stole my socks. They might arrest you, put you through the whole court system. And when you're found not guilty, you can sue the cops, the region, the province, and me. Yeah. Why subject myself to that? I'm not going to make accusations that I can't back. Not now, not ever. But the CRA does this all the time. It's a tactic to frighten you and nothing more. So in Canadian tax law, while assessments are presumed valid, and you should look this one up for yourself, it's Hickman Motors Limited versus Canada in 1997, no assessment has been issued here. CRA is conducting a pre-assessment examination under Section 288 of the Excise Tax Act. So, everybody, what this means here, what I mean by assessment, in Canadian tax, it's not law. It's not law. It's code, tax code. In Canadian tax code, everybody, what they need to do is look at your tax return and assess it. So they will either agree with your tax return and just credit you back your money or ask you for the money they say you owe, or they're going to disagree with the amount and they're going to guess at what the number is. It should be illegal. It kind of is. It is fraudulent to just guess on a number. But in this case here, the trust examination, the auditor, loser, didn't even know that the CRA had not even assessed the taxes on this corporation that I bought. They made no assessment of any kind. And I mean, not a single solitary one. They just said, we want to audit your books. That's all they said. So naturally, of course, we're saying no. So where the minister seeks to exercise coercive inspection powers, the minister must establish, very important, one, that the examination is for any purpose related to the administration or enforcement of this part, and two, the scope of the documents demanded is reasonably necessary to that purpose. Three, that entry to the premises and demands for attendance are proportionate and minimally intrusive. And four, that there exists a factual basis connecting the taxpayer to the alleged compliance issue. The CRA's notice fails to establish any of these. So just because someone says, I'm coming to your house to look at your books, it doesn't mean they've got the right to do so. It doesn't mean they've done any due diligence, and it doesn't mean that you have to cooperate. Please do not cooperate with the CRA. Oh, and people say they'll go lighter on you if you cooperate. No, they won't. They'll take more from you. The whole reason I began studying tax law and code back in 1983 is because my parents did everything the CRA said, and it cost them 1/3 of their wealth. Yeah, that's why. The CRA created a monster. You should be very careful who you F with in this lifetime. What is an examination? Black's Law Dictionary defines examination as an investigation, search, inspection, and interrogation. The word is usually coupled with another word or words indicating the particular kind of examination intended. But it is an interrogation. Whenever the CRA wants to question you, it's an interrogation, and you do not have to cooperate with an interrogation. The right to remain silent, Canada, United States, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, It's the same in all those countries. You don't have to answer anyone's questions at any time. And the Americans went one step further with that. They have the Fifth Amendment. So if you're in the middle of a testimony and your testimony that you're about to give is going to self-incriminate you, you just say, I'm sorry, I plead the Fifth. Canada doesn't have the Fifth Amendment. There is no fifth. There's just you saying, no, I'm not going to take the stand. You have the right in Canada to just not take the stand. And I don't take the stand in court. So an examination is not a limitless inquisition. It must be conducted for a specific purpose, specific articulated purpose, limited in scope to that purpose, and based on a prima facie person to believe the taxpayer has failed to comply with statutory obligations. So let's say you're an auditor. You would need to have proven in advance of the audit that the person you're auditing actually did do something illegal or something wrong. How would the CRA know that? They would not know that. So isn't it funny how this circular argument works? The CRA has no idea if you're following the Income Tax Act and paying all your taxes that they say you owe. They have no way of knowing. So the only way for them to know is to audit you. However, if they don't know that you did something wrong, deliberately planned it, then they can't audit you. So the audit is what gets them the evidence they want. If you know your rights, which after all this, I'm sure you will, you're going to say, no, we're not going to cooperate with you. In fact, you're banned from the property. Don't ever call me again. I got to make a quick point here, folks. If you're trying to get a hold of me, you must do it through my website only, kevinjjohnston.com. A lot of you are getting ripped off, and I keep warning everybody. I do not talk through DMs on any social media platform. I am not on Telegram. I am not on Signal. I will never ask for any money from you unless you speak to me face to face in a consultation where I will hold this mouse up on my desk and show it to you. I keep telling all of you, when you're in a meeting with me, to make sure you're not dealing with AI, tell me to put on my funky New Year's glasses. No problem. I certainly will do so. You know, how about this? AI, when you're talking to AI, cannot pick this up and press it.
That was easy.
Okay? Can't. So please, everybody, do not talk to me through DMs. You're going to be talking to a criminal somewhere else. You're talking to these Nigerian scammers, and they're getting people. And they're getting people who actually have met me in person, and that's the strange part of it. I would never in this lifetime talk with you in a chat room only. In fact, let me go right to the end of what I'm going to say with this. I effing hate texting. I'm not a teenage girl. I am a grown man who grew up in the era of the telephone and the CB radio. Oh, and no cell phones when we actually had to speak to each other face to face at the dinner table. Even though the conversation might have sucked, we still did it. Yeah, telephones. I would pick them up and dial phone numbers like this. And if I got something wrong, damn it, hang up and start over. I talk on the phone, or I talk in video chat, or I talk in my private chat room, or we talk on Zoom. All right, everyone? Everything that you want to talk to me about must go through my website, kevinjjohnston.com. Please, Randy is standing by right now to answer anyone's emails. If you're going to use the contact form, please let him know what you're after, and he'll take care of it. All right, getting back to this examination nonsense with the CRA. So with the CRA, the notice for them to look at the books for the goods and services tax has no factual basis. They have no factual basis because they have failed to file a required GST return. All right. So here's the whole thing. In Canada, the federal goods and services tax, all corporations who get themselves a GST number are supposed to file. You don't necessarily have to pay the money, but you do have to file. Otherwise, you get these stupid letters from the CRA. So this corporation that I had purchased did not do 4 years worth of GST returns. So how could you do an audit on GST returns that were never reported to you in the first place. It's called a fishing expedition, everybody. Next, remitting the GST and HST collected. That's true. This company did not report and did not pay. But nonetheless, I own the corporation now, and I honestly haven't even looked at the books yet. And I'm under no legal obligation to rapidly go through the books on a corporation that I've purchased so the CRA can get some free money. It's not going to happen. I'll do the books when I feel like it. Maybe Christmas time when I've got some time off. Maybe. And then to maintain adequate books or records and to otherwise comply with Part 9 of the ETA. The minister's unilateral assertion of authority without factual foundation is arbitrary and unlawful. Yes, it's the same idea as when cops give you a difficult time and try to walk in your house without a warrant or without some type of real suspicion that they would be able to articulate in a court of law, right? They get sued. And in the United States, they lose. In Canada, cops can shoot you in the head and get away with it for some reason. I can't stand Canada's laws when it comes to cops. I really can't. So then we have statutory authority under Section 288 of the Excise Tax Act. Section 288 provides that an authorized person may at all reasonable times for any purpose related to the administration or enforcement of this part can inspect, audit, or examine documents, property, or process. Again, I'll cover that in a second. Enter premises where business is carried on and documents are kept. Require reasonable assistance in answers to proper questions. Require reasonable assistance with anything authorized under Part 9. Each of these powers is subject to preconditions. Authorized person. The notice does not establish Mr. Ferrito's authority. No delegation instrument, appointment letter, or identification number is provided. Yeah, just because someone says, I work for the CRA and I'm coming to your office, doesn't mean they have authority. They have to prove that they have authority. You know where the authority comes from? Not their stupid title, but a court order, which they never get. Next, all reasonable times. Giving 21 days notice, and that's all this clown gave, for production of 19 months of transactional records, May 2024 to November 2025, including every sales invoice, purchase invoice, bank statement, detailed lists of accounts, receivable and payable, and asset lists is unreasonable as a matter of law and fact. In fact, you've got to give people 30 days for that kind of thing. And even then, you still have to get a court order to make someone produce that much paperwork in that short amount of time. These CRA people really do think there's something, don't they? For any purpose related to the administration or enforcement of this part, no purpose is articulated beyond the naked assertion of examination. The notice does not state whether this is a random audit or compliance verification, what issue, if any, triggered the examination. Yeah, you have the right to know why they're auditing you, whether returns were filed or not filed, whether amounts were remitted or unremitted, what specific provision of Part 9 is under scrutiny. Yeah, they got to tell you, we're going to scrutinize this one little section here. And of course they don't do it. It's a blanket request. The absence of a stated purpose renders the exercise of authority arbitrary, oppressive, and ultra vires, which means you got nothing. You got nothing. Nothing, CRA. And this is just a letter. Here's the best part. My legal capacities, and I've got an incredible team, by the way. My team is remarkable. And we dedicate a lot of time to research. My team and myself, we are better than every tax lawyer in Canada. Tax lawyers don't send this type of information out to the CRA. They just don't do it because they're afraid of backlash. I'm not. What's the CRA going to do? Come to my door? I've already told you what I'm going to do if they try that stunt. So, number 3 here, the legal analysis, defects in the notice. And this, again, for those who are joining late, the Canada Revenue Agency sent a notice to a client of mine. I bought their corporation. I took about $4 million of debt away from them. They get to start over. Now the debt's mine. But this loser that works for the CRA is pestering the client that we bought the corporation from, stating that they want to see all the books and records. We're just going to audit you because we feel like it. And I'm saying, no, you are not. Absolutely not. So the trust accounts examination, mischaracterization, and legal error. The notice that he sent is titled Trust Accounts Examination GST and HST. Black's Law Dictionary defines trust as a fiduciary relation with respect to property, subjecting the person by whom the title to the property is held to equitable duties to deal with the property for the benefit of another person. So, person is not a human being, by the way. In Canadian law, Black's Law Dictionary, person pretty much is corporation or entity that's a taxpayer. But the benefit of the trust in this case is not to the person who's collecting on behalf of the trust. You see, I can't open a trust and then tell all of you that you must put $5 a day into it for the rest of your lives. I have no such authority. And I would never be able to get a court order to that. And if I was to present that to the judge saying, I want you to make an order to put every single Canadian in a position to give me $5 a day into my trust, he'd have me tossed out of the court. He would consider me a vexatious litigant, and I would be banned from filing lawsuits without the direct permission from a judge. True story. So everyone, a trust is not a trust just because the CRA says it is. That's their corporate policy, but that's not the law. I did not agree to spend any time creating or collecting trust money for someone else's trust. I'm not doing it for any of you. I most certainly am not doing it for the CRA. So trusts are great, but everybody who's involved with the trust legally must know that they're involved with a trust. You can't just do what you want. Even the CRA, they cannot just do what they want. All right, so Section 222 of the Excise Tax Act provides that all amounts collected as GST and HST are deemed to be held in trust for the Crown. However, number one, a deemed statutory trust does not create fiduciary obligations in the traditional equitable sense. All right? The CRA says you're collecting their trust money. No, you're not. They just say you are. You're not. Which is why all of you need to get involved with my GST and HST program now. Go to my website and sign up for it. If you've got a corporation, I will get you back 30% on all the GST and HST you collect. That's a special offer for tonight. Sign up now because you're not obligated to be involved with their stupid trust. Next, the CRA's characterization of this as a trust accounts examination suggests the minister has prejudged the amounts that were collected and not remitted. This assumption has not been proven. So when they say that we want to inspect your books to find out how much GST or HST you owe, the Minister of Finance has not told them what the amount is, so they can't ask. Is that incredible or what? Now, what lawyer would be on TikTok and Instagram and Kick and Rumble and Restream and DLive and Facebook and X and everything else telling you this for free? Who else except for me would do this for you? Number three, just get this blur to stop working here. The taxpayer is entitled to challenge the factual predicate before being subjected to an invasive examination based on that unproven assumption. You're damn right you are. It's the same idea as you have to get full disclosure before you go into a hearing or a trial. You got to know what's up, dude. So the CRA says we're going to come and inspect. No, you're not. Because these last 3 pages I've read, you've done none of this. So no, you're not coming to my office to audit my books. My Lord. Now, the other thing here is jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is a very big consideration to make. The CRA has no jurisdiction because they're not cops, they're not courts, they're not judiciaries, they're nothing, right? I don't have jurisdiction. I am not a judge. I'm not a police force. I'm not the head of a court. I'm not the monarch. I have no jurisdiction. I must work within the rules of the jurisdiction in which I plan to use the courthouses. But I have no jurisdiction. There's nothing that I can make any of you do by claiming I've got jurisdiction and the right to do it. You've got the right to give me the middle finger every single time. Give the CRA the middle finger every single time. B, the scope of the demands are oppressive and disproportionate. So when this loser who works for the CRA demanded like 19 years worth of paperwork to be delivered in 21 days, the notice demands were this. They wanted to see completed GST and HST returns for 10 outstanding periods. They wanted bank statements and canceled checks. They wanted detailed lists of accounts receivable, including credit card and merchant numbers. They want a list of assets? No. Sales journal with transaction level detail? Oh, absolutely not. Sales invoices for each transaction for a full 19-month period? Are you kidding? They wanted the purchase journal with transaction level detail and the purchase invoices for each transaction for 19 months. Oh my God. So I'm stating here in this letter, this is an all-encompassing demand for every business record over 19 months without limitation, justification, or proportionality analyses. Black's Law Dictionary defines oppression as the act of imposing unreasonable or unjust burdens, the imposition of unreasonable restraints or restrictions upon lawful interests. Think about it. Think about everything I just said there. Under no circumstances do you have to allow yourself to be oppressed by anyone. Now, the CRA, they're not armed, so you don't have to shoot them, all right? You just don't. And you don't have to set booby traps on your front porch to trap. You don't have to. You just have to understand that all these rights that I'm reviewing with you right now are actually your rights. The CRA does not have the right to act the way that they have chosen to act with just about all of you at all. We have the right to say no. And I'm teaching all of you how to say no. And for those who are asking, am I a lawyer? No. I'm better than any lawyer in Canada when it comes to tax and interpretation and strategy. I am not bound by the rules, no, not the laws, the rules of any of the law societies in Canada. In fact, from time to time, I get threats from the law society saying, well, we found out that you're representing someone and you can't because you're not a lawyer. And if you do it again, we're going to fine you $20,000. And I send them all the case law. So, yeah, no. And I'm not nice, by the way, when I send them letters. There's a lot of references to their moms and their mother's genitalia and just gross stuff. I write gross stuff to government employees because I find everybody who works for the Canadian government to be disgusting and gross themselves. I'm telling them, I'm allowed to represent as a legal agent. I have never told anybody that I am a lawyer. I will not tell anybody that I am a lawyer because I am not a lawyer. I'm also not a doctor, and I'm not an airline pilot. I'm not a helicopter pilot. I have no idea how to drive a submarine. I cannot, believe me, I have no idea how to steer an aircraft carrier. These are not qualifications that I have. At least they're not licenses that I have. However, guys and gals, when it comes to law, anybody can study it. Anybody can work within it. Anybody has the right to find a way to beat it. And anybody can self-represent in court or have whoever they wish assist them in court. So I'm not going to lie to you and say that I am an airline pilot because I'm not. I am not a lawyer, but I am a legal agent. That is the term that I'm legally allowed to use. I just happen to be better than CPAs and lawyers out there. Why? Because I have an overwhelming disdain for all things Canadian government. I hate lawyers. I can't stand them. All Canadian lawyers do these days is take money from people and do nothing in return. About half of our client base at some point has been working with a lawyer, and the lawyers have never brought their problems to a conclusion. They just keep sending requests out for cash. Give me more cash. Give me more cash. Give me more cash. And so on. Yeah, lawyers are scumbags in Canada and absolutely not worth anything at all, period. And they're actually quite easy to rattle. You know, one thing I did notice about Canadian lawyers is they have extremely fragile egos. So whenever I get into conversations with lawyers, I immediately begin disseminating everything about them. I've actually had 3 lawyers quit because I picked on them too much. Poor things. They couldn't handle me telling the truth about them. I got a great story on that, but it would take about an hour to tell it. Nonetheless, everyone. So the oppressive conduct that the CRA is committing is unlawful, and you do not have to put up with it ever. You do not have to do anything anyone says. And just because the Canada Revenue Agency tells any of you that you are holding GST money or payroll money in trust, it doesn't mean it's actually true. It just means they said it. There we are. So the threat of legal action is called improper coercion. When you're going to threaten legal action, everybody, you got to know how to do it, because it can be something that crosses into criminal if you don't do it right. I can't jump on the phone with you and tell you that I'm going to break your legs if you don't pay me. Cannot, completely illegal. But I can tell you that, listen, pal, I've got all the evidence in the world that I need to beat you. And I mean all of it. And I can't wait to present all of this to not just the courts, but to absolutely everybody in the public forum. I'm allowed to say that. So, dude, you got until noon on Friday to pay me, or I'm just going straight to the courthouse. And we'll deal with this in the future. Trust me when I say this. I have already done my research. I know you have a house, and I will be taking it. You're allowed to say these things because I'm not causing harm. And I'm not saying anything that's outside of the law or what I am lawfully allowed to state. So let's get into this. In his notice, he says, if you don't provide the requested books and records, we may take legal action without further notice. Okay, now, if you owe me money, or you've broken a contract, or you're holding my property, I'm absolutely allowed to threaten you because there's real property involved, or there is a value that's been assessed to it, a real value. If I say you have not paid me the $1 million you owe me, that's an assessed value. You don't have to be a CRA member to assess a money value. But the CRA has no idea if this corporation owes money or not. So they're saying, do hundreds of hours of work for free, and if you don't, we'll sue you. There's no money there. There's no assessed value. There's no property value. They have no clue. They don't even know why they're issuing this threat, really. Black's Law Dictionary defines coercion as compulsive force, duress. It may be actual, direct, or positive, where physical force is put upon a man to compel him to do an act against his will, or implied, legal or constructive, where the relation of the parties is such that one is under subjection to the other. Right. So if you actually owe me money, I can call you and threaten you with a court action. But if you do not owe me money, and I cannot call you and coerce you into paying me $1,000, that's extortion. So what the CRA is doing right here is attempting to extort my client by saying, give us everything or we'll take legal action. There was never a cash value on this. So they simply cannot do it. All right. So this threat constitutes implied coercion. It presumes, one, the taxpayer has a legal obligation to comply with the notices written. Two, that noncompliance justifies immediate enforcement action. And three, that the taxpayer has no right to challenge the scope, timing, or lawfulness of the examination. And each of these assumptions is false. The taxpayer has the right to require the CRA to articulate a lawful basis for examination and challenge the scope and the timing as oppressive. Demand that the CRA meet its burden to establish factual grounds and decline to produce documents beyond what is required by statute and reasonably necessary to a defined purpose. But the Charter and the Constitution both state you have the right to remain silent, so I wouldn't do it anyway. Threatening legal action to suppress legitimate objections is an abuse of process. Lawsuit. That's right. You can sue the CRA for abuse of process, and nobody does. You know what the most common answer is? I don't want backlash. Oh. Well, hey, everybody, guess what? You cannot live an adult life anywhere in the world without risk. Everything is risk, everybody, and everything is risk all of the time. Did you know that I could drown drinking this if I swallow improperly? There's no double entendre on that statement, all right? Here, let's see if I drown. Not this time, but there's a chance. Every single time you go to sleep, there's a chance that you could choke on your own saliva or that you could choke on your own tongue. There's a chance. Every time you cross the road, there's a chance someone could hit you with their car. Every time you pump gas, there's a chance the pumps could blow. Everything is a risk. And it's remarkable that everybody wants success, but doesn't want to take any of the risks to get there. The reason I am successful, everybody, is because of all the risks that I've taken. And the vast majority failed. I don't fail anymore because I figure by the time I got to 52 and I opened up this business full time, I had made every single mistake that I possibly could have to get to that particular point. Now, I'm still going to make mistakes. That's just how things are. But because of all the risks I took, I know what I'm doing. Because of all the risks I took suing the CRA and suing police and suing loser bylaw officers in the city of Mississauga and so on, I realized that there's absolutely no backlash whatsoever. Because if they do backlash you after you sue them, that is called malicious prosecution. Malicious prosecution. That's a crime. It can be charged federally. It could actually be a full-blown jury trial. You got to be very careful when you work for the government and you're going to backlash somebody because they exercised their rights to sue you. There you go. And for those who are curious, it's currently 10:01 p.m. on the 3rd of March of 2026. Yes, we are live right this minute. All right, we've got one more section to cover here, and then we're going to go on to the question and answer period. So, number 4, specific legal obligations, defects in statutory compliance. A failure to articulate purpose related to administration or enforcement. Okay, that's a statement these idiots make in their letters. They will say, for the purposes related to administration or enforcement. You do not have to help anybody enforce anything against yourself, ever. You just don't. Section 288 of the Excise Tax Act conditions all inspection powers on the examination being for any purpose related to the administration or enforcement of this part. Purpose is not self-defining. It requires identification of a specific compliance issue. And you got to name them. So is it unfiled returns, unreported sales, unclaimed ITCs? What is it? You got to define it before you say that you're going to look for it. Then you got factual grounds to believe the issue exists. So prior audit findings, I guess, third-party information, discrepancies that you can prove, and reasonable nexus between the documents demanded and the resolution of that issue. Yeah, that also matters. So let's just say, for example, all these trust examination losers, they call themselves officers, but they're losers for the CRA. They want to know all of this information, but what's the resolution? Now, that's the big thing here. You actually have to tell people in advance, we believe you owe $19,212.08. We believe this, and we're going to look through your books for it. Now you've got a little bit of a ground, but the CRA just says, we're going to look for anything anyway. Right? We think you owe money, so cooperate and help us enforce this act. The answer is no, everybody. CRA has provided none of these things. The notice simply asserts authority to examine without stating why, based on what, or toward what end. What is the end game? You always have to ask, what's your end game? And I do ask people that. From time to time, there are arguments that come up and whatnot. Typically, it's online because people in Panama are great. They don't argue with me. But whenever I was being argued with by Canadians in Canada, I'd always ask, what is your end game? What's the goal in you screaming at me at the top of your lungs in public? And I wait, and I never get an answer. Do you know why? Is that everyone is reactive to everything, and nobody has an answer. Nobody has a plan. Nobody has an end game. Feel free to ask, what's your end game? Every single time someone decides that they want to be a pain in the ass. I'm not married anymore for that reason. What's this argument about? What's your end game? No, I can assure you I'm not going to love you more when this argument's over. What is the goal? I've never once received an answer to that question from anybody. That's not true. Once the guy said, so I can take your teeth out of your mouth, put them on the floor. Okay, so it's a threat of violence. But beyond that, I don't get endgame answers. And believe me when I say this, the CRA never has an endgame answer for you. They will never tell you what the goal is. They'll just say thank you and leave the audit, and then they'll send you a big bill. And you'll probably believe that you have to pay it. So, an examination without articulated purpose is arbitrary and therefore unlawful. Yeah, you cannot do arbitrary things arbitrarily. Anchor Point Energy versus Canada in 2007 holds that where the minister's assumptions relate to facts, particularly within the minister's knowledge, fairness requires a CRA to lead evidence rather than impose a burden on the taxpayer. That's correct. Show me the evidence. Show me something that would make me believe that I have to cooperate with you in some way. But if you're not going to show me any evidence whatsoever, even the case law in Canada says you don't have to cooperate with the CRA. You don't have to cooperate with the Minister of Finance. You don't have to do anything the CRA says. Isn't that amazing? Because they cannot do any of what this letter is demanding of them. Alrighty. So here, the Canada Revenue Agency, only the CRA knows why it's targeted my corporation for examination. The taxpayer, in this case me, is entitled to that information before being subjected to sweeping documents production. And we'll leave it there for now on this letter. There's actually, there's 2/3 to go. Oh yeah, the letters that I send to the CRA, they're long, but they're long necessarily. We got to make sure that we cover all of the bases that we are being asked, or we should cover, because we're being asked to cover something. All of you need to comprehend that the Canada Revenue Agency is not in any way, shape, or form a police force. They have no authority. You're under no legal obligation to cooperate with them ever. All right. So for those who are watching on TikTok, all right, guys, it's question and answer period. Let's get the double fingers going. Everyone, 2 fingers like this. Get it rocking. We're only at 25,000 likes. That's just unacceptable, everybody. Come on. This is gold and platinum I'm giving you. Wrapped up in a sandwich made of more gold and platinum. Come on. Let's get the likes going. If you haven't shared this yet, please, everyone, share this right now. If you're not following me, please follow me. I've got all kinds of information just like this. I've got years worth of content at freedomreport.ca, which is my Rumble channel that people are watching me live on as well. If you're over here on Instagram, everyone, get the likes going, please, and get the shares going out the door. I have a question here from In Case Developments. Can the CRA take money out of your RRSP or TFSA or just your personal and business accounts? They will freeze the accounts where your RSP and TFSA are held. They'll freeze them, and they'll probably freeze your bank account to go along with it. So what if you have tax trouble, everybody, you got to empty your bank accounts. That's just how that works. The way you protect yourself in Canada, I can get you a numbered corporation registered, and that numbered corporation should have a bank account. You take all your money and put it there. You can also move your RSPs and TFSAs to your corporation. And if a corporation has never done business, it doesn't owe any money. It's called a holding company, and a holding company never owes taxes. So I'll repeat what I said. If you have tax trouble and you've got personal bank accounts and you are concerned that the CRA is going to lock your bank account, drain them. We'll get you into a holding company and you move all your money into the holding company bank account. That's how you protect yourself every single time. Let's go to YouTube and see what we have in the way of questions here. All right. Falcav. Okay, so Falcav, sorry, I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to say there, but did you want to go ahead to my website and just copy and paste that response along with your phone number, please, so I can get a hold of you tomorrow? Greatly appreciate that. Upses says, would you buy a company that has made lots of money and never filed taxes before or ever? Yes. Yeah, actually we would, because eventually the CRA is going to want you to do those taxes. And eventually they're just going to give you a whopping assessment. They'll make it big, by the way. So yes, I would gladly take that off of your hands. So if you want to sell me a corporation, everyone, right here, kevinjjohnston.biz. All right. It takes you to one page on my .com website where you fill the form out and let us know what all the debts are, all your contact information, and we will buy that corporation, take it off of your hands. Private bloggins. Blue-collar guy who's paid at a company and gets taxed via a T4, have a side hustle business. How long can I show large losses to recuperate my daytime taxes? you can show losses every single solitary year. The T2125 form, which was formed back when I was in high school, yeah, it was a form that they were using to try to get prostitutes to pay income tax. I shit you not. That's exactly what happened. And when the prostitutes and the pimps said no, the T2125 form was then forced onto the service industry and the hospitality industry. So what was happening here is that now waitresses and bartenders and DJs and janitors, they were all having to pay tax on their tips. But what everyone forgot to indicate to the public is that page 1 of the T2125 form is where you put your earnings, your extra earnings. But page 2 is where you put all your expenses. So if you have $100,000 worth of expenses on your T2125 and, they're quasi legit and you only made $60,000, guess what? You're not paying tax because you spent more than you made according to that form. So yeah, it's entirely possible to never pay tax again. And I will put down every expense that I'm legally allowed to put down. And I mean every single one. If it's legal, it goes in there. That's why my clients don't pay tax. And other accountants suck. You do pay tax if you go to them. All right, let's go over to the Rumble room. Haven't been in Rumble here for a bit. Hello, everybody in Rumble. So, Kind Lena. Hi, Kevin. Okay, so Kind Lena, I believe you're supposed to talk to Jay and get your phone number over to him. I think Jay's got something set up for me to talk to you either tomorrow or Thursday. I appreciate that. JB9. Okay, Kevin, last show, I was figuring out sending a message. This time, can you mention how the AI system is working? Also, do I have to separate GST from the totals when I add them up? Well, if I'm your tax guy, no. We have an AI tax system that the first couple of drafts of it, they're working, but it's the interface. We can't release something to the public that's difficult to use. And right now it's difficult to use. The end results are perfect. They're pristine. So the update is it works. The update also is I don't have an exact date that we're going to release it, but believe me, we're going to have a huge celebration when we do. Tuzo, Kevin, as a Canadian tax resident, if I buy a property in Paraguay or Panama, should I put it into a Paraguayan Panamanian corporation to keep it private? 100%. Absolutely. I have a lot of property here in Panama now, and each one is in a completely separate corporation with extremely well-written bylaws. Now, in Panama, they don't have corporate bylaws the same way that Canada does. It's considered a will, but the will is extremely detailed, and I've got a copy with the parties that need to know about it, especially my lawyer that set that up. Yes, you want to make sure that you own property in a corporation in any country in the world. Black War Forge question. I need to refile last year as well as this year. How soon could you get into that? Could probably start that in about 2.5 weeks. All you got to do is jump on the website and use the contact form. Tell us that you're all set to go with your taxes, and we'll get you a quotation and get you started. Nick One Man, Kevin, I have Black's Law Dictionary edition 11. Is that as good as your second edition? What's the difference? The language is softer in edition of number 11. Number 2 it's harsh. It's right to the point. In number 11, they've tried to soften the language. Compare the two of them. Number 11 is a joke, but you still need to have it because it is up to date. However, most of the courts in Canada still use version 2. Just saying. All right. Superman 21. What's the best way to put a property in a company and be the majority shareholder? Dude, just have me take care of it for you. That's what you got to do. We'll get the corporation registered. We'll get the bylaws written, and I'll give you the full-fledged explanation on how that works. Over here on Instagram, Baxterm76. Does the employer have to disclose what they took for wage garnishment on your T4 or when you do taxes to write off wage garnishments? Good question. So in Canada, if the Canada Revenue Agency decides they want money from you and they know where you work, which they would by your T4 slips, then they'll tell your employer to hold back funds and pay them. And employers are cowards, and they always just capitulate because the CRA says, if you don't give us money, we may, not will, may hold you accountable. And all the employer has to do is say, you'd better have some effing evidence if you're going to ask me to steal money from someone. Go get a court order And don't contact us again until you do. That's what a real man does. That's what someone does who's got a spine. So this whole thing about wage garnishment, unfortunately, is your employer is most likely going to do it. The way you get out of it is you get your employer to fire you and then rehire you on contract where you write invoices instead. And I had not, the last time I was on a T4 in Canada, it was one time I was doing a favor to a private hockey rink. A friend of mine was the general manager for the place, and he asked me if I could referee some games. I said, yeah, sure, no problem. But he said that to pay me, he had to put me on a T4, and it was ridiculous that my T4 for what year was that? 2004, maybe? The T4 was for $200. I didn't even bother doing my taxes. Like, why would I do that? Something about insurance. I can't stand when Canadians say, we have to do it this way because of the insurance company. Oh my God, I hate that. You don't have to do jack because of an insurance company. You don't have to do anything because of an insurance company. Okay. Sparky, if I use your services, what do you charge for face-to-face? Do you take e-transfers? Yes, e-transfers, credit cards are fine. Please make sure you're doing everything through my website, not social media. The scammers are out there getting people bad. I found out today one of my clients got taken for $2,500. God, people, please. I do not do business through DM. I do not do business through Telegram or Signal. It's got to be my website. And for a half-hour consultation is $6.95 Canadian. Yeah, and there's no HST on that. It's just a flat rate, $6.95. All right. How much is to open a holding company, and is that the same as a corporation? It's exactly the same as a corporation. You just do not do a tax return that has money values on it. It's a tax return with the word null on it. That's all. That's all that it is. And it's $19.50 Canadian. Hey, let's check some more of your questions over here in Rumble. Can you provide a cost for just the shareholder bylaws? Non-complex, $950. Overtly complex, $3,000. Most people are at the $950 range. Just saying. There's not been too many overtly complex ones we've had to do. KS. If I have made $100K and my spouse made $50K on a T4, how can I get a refund out of these crooks? The T2125 form, all of your medical expenses. If you have caregiver expenses, like you're taking care of your sweet old mom or your sweet old dad or grandma or grandma's sister or whatever, every single expense that goes into taking care of people, that all gets written off. Marketing is a big one. You know, see this amazing haircut that I paid $5 for? Well, what I did is I put it down as a marketing expense of, let's say, $20,000. Why not? Why? Who's to say that I did not contract me? So me as the owner of a corporation, I contract me to go get marketing done. I get this awesome haircut done, which cost me $5, and then I mark it up $20,000 to the corporation. You can mark your own stuff up. Absolutely you can. Every suit and tie you buy, it's all part of marketing. Got to remember this, everybody. If you talk to one person during the course of the year, then everything you're wearing is a write-off. Everything. It's marketing. You're presenting you. You're the face of the corporation. You're the face of the idea. Everything you're wearing. That includes, sorry to be gross, but that includes the tampon you're wearing. Everything. Everything on your body at that time is a write-off. Why don't accountants tell you that? Because they're cowards. Because they don't think out of the box. They're stuck. Not only are they stuck in the box, but they got their heads up their own asses. And then they're inside the box. That's how Canadian accountants are. If you ever wonder why you pay so much tax, because your accountant sucks. That's why. Because your accountant is a coward. That's why. Question. Do you have to do a T5 if you have people on contract? Never do T5s. Here's the advice that I would give you. Please do not take a power drill and drill a hole in your frontal lobe. Please. That is the exact same thing as a T5. That's how stupid a T5 is. So what she's asking, guys, is a T5 is something that you would assign to someone if they took dividends out of a corporation. Bad accountants will tell you, hey, your corporation made too much. Let's make your corporation pay less tax by giving all of you dividends. And the CRA taxes your dividends 48%. What's the freaking point of taking a dividend? So if you're paying contractors, tell your contractor to write you an invoice and just pay the invoice. That's it. Don't bother putting it onto T4 because that costs you money as well. Just pay the invoice and walk away. Please, is it Joan, is it? Please do not use T5s. All you're doing is opening up a huge can of worms. And as soon as you send in 1 year of T5s, they will expect you to be doing T5s for the rest of your life. And if you don't do them in the following year, they get suspicious because that's what they do. And they'll try to audit you. And if I'm your tax guy, naturally, I'm going to block the audit and ban the auditor from ever talking to you again. But why put yourself through it? Don't use T5s. Please use invoicing. Excellent. At what point should I own a holding company? If you have a house, put the house in a holdco. You got really expensive cars, put them into a holdco. You've got a lot of gold, silver, and cash, put all of it into a holdco. Holding companies are there to protect your assets and your money. That's what you do. You want to protect it. You got to make sure no one knows you have it, and you hide it in a numbered corporation to make sure it's invisible. Mandy, how would the government find out if someone is married if someone doesn't disclose? They don't. They would never know you're married if you don't disclose it. It's not like the CRA hire geniuses. Believe me, I've talked to a lot of these people. Their IQs are low. I mean, very low. And by the way, I have figured this out, everyone. There's no such thing as a crystal ball that actually works. Okay, the CRA cannot look into your soul. They do not know if you're lying unless you tell them that you're lying. They know nothing about your kids until you tell them. They don't know you're married until you tell them. They don't know where you live until you tell them. They know nothing about you until you tell them. So don't ever be married on a tax return. It's legal to lie. You can lie. No, I am not married. Why? Because both of you could write the same kids off. Both of you could probably get the child tax benefit credit. Absolutely, both of you could. Why would you ever divulge to anybody who you're sleeping with, even on paper? Don't. It's no one's business. And don't tell me. It's none of my business. All right. If I have a principal residence and sell it before the 1 year, the CRA wants me to live there, can the CRA ask for the HST on the selling price? Well, if you were to tell them that you sold the house, they'll ask for it. But if you put the house into a numbered corporation at the very beginning, they're not going to know anything about who the actual owner of that corporation was unless you tell them. So they might chase the corporation in the future for HST, but they won't be chasing you. As for you selling the house within a year, that HST only applies if it's a brand new build. So getting a brand new build, I've pulled some tricks. For anybody who's a realtor out there, I can make it so that a brand new house only has a GST bill of $100, $130. Yeah, it's genius level thinking that I put forward, guys. And I have saved developers hundreds of millions of dollars by not allowing houses to go out the door being sold brand new with HST on it. All right. So if you are a developer out there and you want to pocket a boatload of money by not paying HST, you got to get a hold of me. No one knows more about the Canadian tax system than me. Nobody. What's the best way to protect your crypto on a ledger? Shut up about it. Shut up. Do not say a word about it. It is nobody's business what you have. If you have Bitcoin, shut up. If you have XRP, shut up. If you have Solana or Chainlink, what do? Shut up. Stop talking about what you have. Do you know what blows my mind, everyone? I'm not lecturing you specifically on this, but it is remarkable how many people under the age of 40 blah, 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 blab about everything that they've got. Everything. They talk about what their sexual orientations are publicly, and then they chastise their supposed boyfriends and girlfriends and mates and wives and husbands online. And people are making TikTok videos of arguments that they're starting with their spouses specifically for some flair and drama online. It's weird, don't you? I think that's weird. I am repulsed by that level of behavior. And when you are going to put your life out there for the whole world to see, do you honestly think anybody actually respects that? Or do they think that you're a maniac or a loser or a wimp. Imagine, guys, your crypto. Some I've seen this happen on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, where some guy doesn't even have a microphone anymore. Remember the old days when you had a big camera and a microphone and you put the microphone back and forth? Guys, you know what they do now? They walk around with their phone. Hey, how much money do you make per year? And they put the phone in someone's face and the people answer the question. Are you hetero or homosexual? And they answer the question. Is this your girlfriend here? Yes. Have you ever cheated on her? And they answer the question. I just don't get it. Why does everybody want to divulge everything about their personal lives? Do you guys know that I've never told you the real name of any of my former lovers or girlfriends or ex-wife or anyone else? None of you know. I'm not divulging any of that. It's no one's business. God, people, shut up. Shut up about what you have. That's how you protect your crypto on your ledger. It's yours. Be silent. The CRA has zero way to know what you have unless you're foolish and using a Canadian custodial wallet. Don't do that. Get yourself something non-Canadian. And if you're doing custodial, just use custodial for the purposes of any earnings that you can make, like crypto.com's supercharger. Now, that was a cool thing that they used to do with Bitcoin, but you still want to have it on a private wallet, everyone. Just saying. All right, more questions here. Okay, I'm not too sure what Jesus has to do with this, folks, so I'm not going to get into religious debates here. Oh, Johnson, Ontario or numbered corp or Canada? It's always better to have a numbered corporation in the province in which you own that property. It's just so much easier to do it that way. Canadian corporations are easier for the CRA to scrutinize because there's considerably fewer of them. And Ontario, well, there's like 16 million people in Ontario now, so it's extremely easy for everything to be disorganized. And it's good that government is disorganized because they're not going to be scrutinizing us anywhere near as much as you may think that they are. Pam, as a business owner, should we take out a dividend or by paycheck? Neither. Just take the money out and shut up about it. It's yours. Take it out. Shh. Okay, watch. I just took $1 million out of my bank account. Watch what I do. Yeah. Silence. There is no way for the CRA to know that you took money and spent it personally at all. But if you want the legal designation for it, it's called a corporate withdrawal. So as an example, if you put $1 million into your corporation when you formed it or at some point during its operation and you want your money back, you can take it out tax free. Corporate withdrawal. Never. If you're a corporation owner, never put yourself on a T4 because you're going from paying, if you do it my way, you're going from paying 0 taxes to paying 5. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Shh. About everything. Sarah, you booked with me last Friday, did you? I need you to jump over to my website right now. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I know what happened. We switched from Calendly, which sucks, to a new calendar program. You might have got caught right in the middle there. Sandra, go to my website right now. Randy's watching right now. Use the contact form. Put your full name in there. The full name you have on your user ID. Put down Friday, and we're going to get back to you first thing in the morning. All right? Get that done. For that, I apologize. That is on me. We were supposed to do the maintenance at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I had better plans, so we did it in the middle of the day. That's totally my fault, but please do that now for me if you don't mind. Don't communicate with me here on DM, please, because I don't check DMs. Website only. Greatly appreciate that. The T2125 form is for professional and business, not for people working on T4. You have no idea how incorrect that is. Where'd you hear that from? Who told you that? I'd like to hear that answer. You're absolutely incorrect on that one. Anybody can use it anytime they want. How often am I live? live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or right here on freedomreport.ca or on TikTok, Real Kevin J. Johnston. And now we're back on Instagram at Kevin J. Johnston Official. All right, there we go. Coinbase, they suck. I don't use them. Okay, for anybody who's coming to Panama and wants a meeting, please go through the contact form on my website. I don't write my own schedule. I've got an office manager for that who takes care of scheduling all of my time. My days start between 4 and 6 a.m. They go late, and by the time like 4 or 5 p.m. rolls around, I'm kind of frazzled and burned out and a little bit irritated. So I put a 50-pound weight vest on, walk 5Ks, and go to the gym. And I'm still returning phone calls during that time. So I don't have time to book my own schedule. Please do it through the website. Greatly appreciate that. Authentic Vibrations, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. Kay, your account or your business account? Sorry, Kay, could you clarify the question, please? Pat, for instance, purposes, how do I maximize and not pay crazy taxes on my RSP at the time of death? It would take me about 20 minutes to explain the strategy. But if you have an RRSP, it's in your best interest just to take it out now. You don't forget TFSAs. Forget anything to do with the Canadian government. Forget GICs. Never mind Canada savings bonds. I don't even think they sell those anymore. Forget about RRSPs, everybody. You know where the money is? It's in property, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Those are your retirement plans. I don't know why everyone thinks the RSP is somehow a good thing. You're going to get taxed between 38 and 50% on the RSP. It's a scam. They are a scam, everybody. However, if you want to pull your RRSP out, just give me between 90 days and 2 months notice, and we will have a strategy where you get all of your RRSP money back in the following tax year. Possibly the same tax year. I know exactly how to get that done, but you got to let me know in advance. Don't surprise me saying you already did it. Sarah, my extreme pleasure. Okay. Oh, Philomena, do I help Americans? All right, Philomena, great question. I used to live in the United States from 96 to the year 2000. I have spent a lot of time. In fact, in total, I've spent about 7 years of my life inside the USA. I didn't actually study tax law in the United States, but I did very well business-wise in the United States because, as everybody can tell here, I have more of an American attitude towards business than I do a Canadian attitude. You know, Americans like to get goods in the door, get them on the shelf, get them sold, restock, get the money in the door. Canadians like to, sit around and do nothing. So for myself, with this big mouth I have, and it is a very big mouth, and it never stops moving. It never stops talking. I know how to do business in the States quite well. However, that being said, it turns out that our purchasing program of corporations that are in dire straits and debt, including, IRS debt, we can actually do that for Americans now. So we can buy corporate debt in the United States now. And we are going gangbusters with it coming April the 1st. All right. Let's have a look at more of your questions here. Do I have a trust account? I'm not going to get into what I have financially, folks, but I'm going to say to you that trust accounts are expensive and not necessarily necessary if you have fewer things than I do. The reason, of course I have a trust. I have a trust because I've got property in 3 countries. That's why. The reason that I'm utilizing a trust is that the trust dictates all of the rules, followed by the bylaws of each corporation for each property. There's all kinds of rules that need to be followed upon my death. And the trust, of course, is, I'm not going to tell you which country or province or state or region or territory that they are in. But what I will say is that the government is never going to find them. And upon my death, they're going to have no way to tax anything that I have. And I mean zero. Oh, yeah. How does someone contact me directly? Through my website only, everybody. My name, kevinjjohnston.com. There we go. What's the best return on investment right now? If somebody put $1 million in, I'd go half Bitcoin and half XRP and just sit and wait. That's it. That's what I would do. If you are somebody who wants to be a landlord, then what you could do is buy a couple of properties and rent them out. You could buy them cash, rent them out, and then get HELOCs, home equity loans against those properties, and then buy XRP and Bitcoin and wait. So now you've got the properties and the crypto. The properties are earning rental income. The crypto is going to drop a bit more because of all these silly little skirmishes around the world. Next year, they're going to skyrocket. And I mean skyrocket. So that's pretty much all I'm investing in these days. All right. I don't see a reason to invest in collector coins. Why? Or gems. The gem market's too difficult to comprehend. It's very difficult to get into. Anybody can buy gold and silver. That's easy. I've already proven that to you. Anybody can buy crypto. That's easy. And anybody can buy property. If you had $1 million to invest, that's most likely what I would do. I haven't paid taxes since 2020. They're after me now. Go to my website, get a hold of me. We got to get those taxes done for you. All right. Trina says, your consultation was March. Sole proprietor taxes, HST corporation bylaws to remove liens. All right, Trina. So I'm not entirely sure what that means in only one sentence, but could you please clarify on the website contact form? Greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Canola Girl says, I've mentioned if you have a judgment on your home, you can still put it into a numbered corporation. Well, of course you can, but the lien goes with it, just so you know. You can change title anytime you want, but the liens will stay on the property unless you beat them in court or you get rid of them through financial trickery, which of course I can do. 1 second there. PG says, do you provide one-on-one training to follow your footsteps? I've been at this for 28 years and I could use some fine tuning. Use my website, bro. Get a hold of me. If you're somebody who actually wants to learn what I do, we're always looking for warriors, man. Always looking for somebody with a spine who wants to win, who likes to make money. In what I do for a living, folks, there is a lot of money in taxes. There's a lot of money in finance and commerce and crypto. There's a lot of money. You got to understand it, and you cannot be afraid of it. And one more thing, everyone, is if you are going to be investing in things like crypto and gold and silver, you have to make a decision. Are you in it for quick cash or are you in it for the long haul? I'm in it for the long haul. I'll be holding my crypto for the next 20 years. Now, I'm pretty sure that by the time I get to be 74, I'll be one of those guys that just decides to spend $500,000 a year for kicks. Yeah, shits and giggles, as they say. But I plan to have it by investing now. I think I told all of you that I not lost, but my crypto is down $400,000. And I'm shrugging like, oh, well. Why? Because I bought more. When stocks drop, you buy more. You don't sell, you buy more. When the crypto dropped, I kept buying more. Now, when the crypto dropped, like XRP went all the way down to like $1.80 Canadian, I dropped 40 grand. Boom. Now I got more. What happens for me if XRP goes to $1,000 a coin, let's say in 5 years, if I can just manage to sit here and wait, I worked it out to be $147 million. It's a lot of money. I could retire somewhat comfortably with that amount of money. But you know what's more important to me with $140 million? Imagine just how many left-wing nuts I could irritate on a daily basis with that kind of dough. Just imagine me putting billboards up all over North America, shunning and making fun of the entire left wing. God, that would be so much fun. Huh. It's my money. I'll do what I want with it. Which platform to buy XRP and Bitcoin? Crypto.com is the easiest one to buy. I've gone through a lot. In Canada, an easy one would be ShakePay is easy, but they only do Ethereum and Bitcoin. They do wire transfers, so you could transfer a large amount of them. But if you're going to use a Canadian exchange, move the crypto immediately. Just get it right off the exchange, move it elsewhere. Crypto.com, it's a cool one because it's fun to use. You can jump in there and buy junk coins and sell junk coins and you learn a lot. They have daily news updates, and the news updates, they're written by pretty energetic people. So you're going to learn faster. They're written at Kincaid grade scale 3 and 4. So they're really fast reads, but there's information in there every single day. However, I don't store money in custodial wallets. I do it on a hard wallet. And in fact, 3 or 4, in fact, more than that. And the 10-word phrases are phrases that would mean something to me and nothing to anyone else. So there's no way I'm going to forget them unless I take on a major head injury. But, you can write them down in a book somewhere and hide the book on your bookshelf somewhere, and maybe tell your lawyer in a letter that's sealed what book it is on your bookshelf and what page it is to get the 10-word phrase for your crypto. All kinds of ways to protect yourself. All right, what else do we have? Superman asks, what about if you have a HELOC and you transfer the home into a corporation? Do you need to update the insurance company? The insurance policy would be on the house, unless you specifically signed that it's for you and the house. It's an easy one to transfer. You wouldn't even have to tell them until after it's been done. Always beg for forgiveness. Never ask permission. There's no point asking permission for anything because everyone's going to tell you no. When you ask, you ever notice that? When you ask someone, can something be done? It's, I don't know. I don't think so. It's always no. So you just go and do it. And then when they find out you did it, just say, yeah, well, you seemed busy at the time. I mean, I learned that lesson when I was a kid. I'd always ask, Dad, can I do this? No. And I couldn't do it because it would interfere with his television time. So I just went ahead and did it anyway. And I learned that I only got caught 1 out of every 20 times. So just do it. Just do it. The forgiveness thing, I don't even want forgiveness. I don't care. That's why, because the things that I do are not illegal and I don't hurt people. So it doesn't matter. Linda says, you apparently followed me today. No, Linda, I did not. That would be a scammer. Everybody on TikTok, I will not be following anyone. Period. I'm not following you. So if you get a follow from a Kevin J Johnston TikTok channel, it's not me. Block it immediately. House rich and cash poor. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been there. It sucks. Recommendations. Well, a lot of people make a very big mistake and they get home equity loans and then live off of the loan. No, you have to find a way to make passive income. And if you are currently working somewhere, you've got to find a way to not pay tax. How is that? Well, you make me your tax guy and you'll never pay tax. The whole thing here, Canada, is that Canadians could actually be wealthy people if they just weren't paying tax. And it's the fear. It's the fear that Canadians have about the CRA that just paralyzes them. It's not something that I understand. I just don't get fear. The last time I felt fear, I was 25. I got bitten by a rattlesnake. I mean, it hurt. And the area that I got bitten in was turning a bit black. But, they got to me on time. And I felt fear because when you get snake venom in you, you're nauseous and you're tired and you're angry because it hurts. It really hurts. Yeah, there's the weird series of emotions that go through, but that's actually real life and death. You should fear situations like that, but not so that they paralyze you, so that you get the job done. But when it comes to paperwork from the CRA and phone calls from collection losers, don't fear them. What edition of Black's Law was I reading from? Issue 2. All right, just reading your questions here, folks. Why don't I like Coinbase? It's a Canadian operation. Anything in Canada, I don't do business with. I'm done. I'm done with Canadian banks. I'm done with Canadian crypto exchanges. I am done with Canadian finance centers. I'm done with FinTrack. I'm done with the CRA. I'm done with the radical left who runs all the banking, education, courts, all the government. I'm done. I'm done. Guys, I have not physically been inside of the borders of that stupid country for 2.5 years now because I was burned out. It is remarkable how draining that country is. The way, like, leave winter aside for now. I'm just talking the general attitude in that country. Everyone's broke and angry all the time. It's left versus right. It's white versus black. It's Christians and Hindus versus Muslims. It's the government versus the people. It's the people versus each other. It's neighbors picking on neighbors. Yeah, everyone's jealous of each other's cars and garages and the size of their house. Everyone's fighting about everything all of the time. I have zero interest in being in that place. It's freeing to not be there. The reason I'm doing so well now is because I'm not being plagued by the negative energy that's around all the time. And believe me, it does affect you, because I noticed it after about 8 weeks of being outside of Canada. I felt fantastic. And it wasn't just because I'm lying on the beach. It's because I wasn't around all that negative energy. Okay. Glenn, when should I register for a GST number and start charging on invoices when working on contract? Today. But make sure that I'm your tax guy so you don't pay any of that tax. There you go. All right. What's my rate roughly? Well, the initial consultations are $695 for half hour, $1,500 for an hour. Personal tax, $950 per tax year. Legal letters could be as low as $500 up to $3,000, but it depends on the complexity of the letter. So we're about 1/10 the price of lawyers on the legal side. Most tax years for corporations are about $2,500 per tax year. So we took the mean rate for CPAs and pretty much cut it in half. So yeah, we're undercutting a lot of CPAs, and I'm absolutely undercutting lawyers. That prices are going up on June the 1st, folks. So sign up now, please, because it's a lot. What we do is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'm in the highest tax bracket. How do I avoid paying as much tax? Make me your tax guy. You will pay zero tax. The whole idea of hiring an accountant is to not pay tax. I just don't get how it is that so many people out there are hiring accountants and paying a fortune in tax. You're being double taxed. You got to pay the fee and pay the tax. No, you pay our fee and don't pay tax. That's how we do it. What about citizenship? What, Canadian citizenship? I've already got my application in to no longer be a Canadian citizen. I don't want to be a Canadian citizen. There's no advantage to it at all. I don't know which one you're talking about, though. How much to get a corporate bank account? Well, bank accounts, if you're going to open up a corporate bank account in Canada, there's no charge. You just walk in with your articles of incorporation and a piece of ID, maybe two, and open up a corporate account. That's it. It's more complicated in places like Mexico and El Salvador, Costa Rica, and Panama, because the rules of Latin and South America are that lawyers have to do those things for you. But it's worth it. Believe me. Just let the lawyer do it. Yeah, Canada sucks. Whoever says that, I agree. Can you dispute the CRA's ridiculous penalties? Yes. I use dispute as a way to delay everything long enough to be able to redo your taxes and get them fixed up properly. What's the process for residency in Panama? If Friendly Nations visa is the one that you want, Panama has a Friendly Nations program with 52 countries around the world right now. Canada, of course, is one of them. So you just fly here. I'll introduce you to my lawyer. And within 2 weeks, you'll have a temporary visa card. And within 8 weeks, you're going to have your full visa card, your full residency. Nick, my mom died. I liquidated her RIF, and now do I have to pay the 50% tax? What you got to do is clear everything out of your mother's accounts, get everything, and then we backdate your step down as executor, because only the executor is the one who gets stuck with that burden. We're going to step you down as executor after you get everything done. So let me know when that's ready, and we can get the appropriate documentation done. Back to Rumble. Fit Chick. My good friend has a horrible renter in her basement suite. My friend has renters. There's a lot of damage from the renter and her boyfriend. If you don't claim the rental, how do you get it fixed? Well, claiming the rental Well, how about this? I would just state that there was marketing expenses on a T2125 form. That's how you get it fixed. Got to be careful who you rent to these days. It's really unfortunate. But no, you don't have to write things off for any particular benefit, because now they know you have a rental property, and now they're going to always have their hands out waiting for some kind of capital gain to try to guilt you into thinking that you actually owe a capital gain. Talk to, how do I handle the CRA when they claim I owe them $24K for 2023 personal taxes after a long back and forth of assessment of personal taxes? We have to file what's called an objection on your personal taxes, threaten them with appeal, and then I redo your taxes for you and get the tax bill to zero. Takes a while, but it's totally worth it. Hazel, can I get my funds in the bank into a trust? Just put them into a numbered corporation. Trusts are $40,000, numbered corporations $1,950. Cheaper. And the numbered corporation with well-written bylaws acts the same way as a trust, and I mean identical. How does the three corporation system work to not pay taxes? Corporation A is your operations company, all right? So it makes all the money. Corporation B is a holding company that holds all your property, tools, and computers and rents them back to Corporation A for $1 a year. Ergo, it's a holdco. Corporation A puts the money into Corporation B's bank account, and then Corporation C can simply cut a boatload of invoices to Corporation A with 10 years to pay those invoices. Corporation A writes them all off, gets the GST benefit, and then Corporation C cancels the invoices in year number 3. Ta-da! Any questions? Jake, I'm a sole proprietor truck driver. How can I avoid paying income tax working on opening a corporation? The easy answer is make sure I'm your tax guy, because I'll make sure that as a sole prop that you don't pay tax for the last couple of years, but then we absolutely have to get you into a corporation. And if you're a truck driver these days, you got to make sure that you list at least 2 clients. Even if you only have 1, we list 2, and I'll be your client. And you can imaginarily truck my imaginary friend from place to place. The CRA can't say that you are a one-trick pony. Hazel, what is it? You're in Malaysia. What do you want to do? What are you trying to achieve? Let me know. Okay. Yeah, 1 second there. Does the $695 consultation fee go towards doing the taxes for 2025? Yeah, it's a good question. It's a fair one. Sometimes, let me tell you what happens with some of our consultations. Is the person's tax problem sometimes takes about 6 minutes to review and come up with a solution for. So if that's the case, I would take the full amount of the consultation time and stick it directly onto the credit for the invoice on your tax job. Some problems are just not as big as people think that they are. I know that everyone thinks that their tax problems are huge. They're probably not that huge. That's the truth. So if that is the case, yes. But let's say we do the entire consultation, but it was a complex one where I had to go through your entire life story. Well, no, that would not be fair to me and to the team, because I have to listen to everything you're saying. I have a boatload of questions for you, and then I've got to form a strategy with you within that time, then get you a quotation, and then get cracking. So that's the answer for you. We Buy Homes Fast. Another amazing, informative show. Everyone needs you to do their taxes. Thank you for saying so. I appreciate that. Hazel, if your bank account is in Canada, we just have to get you into a numbered corporation. Someone that you know in Canada is going to have to physically enter the bank on your behalf and get the bank account opened, and then you're golden. There's nothing more to worry about. They have to give you all the user IDs and passwords for it, and you change the user ID. Financial freedom with Jen. Sorry, Jen, if I skipped your question, my apologies. Ask it right now, please, because we're down to our last 6 minutes. Do we discuss with you directly? Oh, no. Whoa. Every consultation that you buy on my website is with this fotch right here. So if you don't like looking at this fotch, then don't buy. But if you're okay looking at this fotch for half an hour, it's me. You would not be interacting with any members of my team until we decide what we're actually doing for you on the tax side, with the exception of my office manager. He'll be the one that contacts you by email to let you know, here's the Zoom link, here's the password, here's your time. And then from there, he'll get you booked in and we're good to go. Thank you, 2K. I certainly do appreciate that. All right. Sorry about the blurring here, folks. My phone is like almost 9 years old now, so the camera's kind of pooched. All right. Let me have a look here at the Rumble Room, down to our last 5 minutes. Okay. Here's a good question. It's kind of a frightening one. How long is it reasonable to wait for the CRA to give me my money back for anything longer than 4 years old if you're doing 18 years in total? All right. We're not doing the 18 years in total anymore because the CRA tends to ignore everything past 5. So what we got to do is make sure you get back absolutely everything that you paid out in the last 5. That's the new strategy that we utilize. Every couple of months, they're changing policies. So every couple of months, we're changing how we do things. That's just the nature of this ridiculous business dealing with the absolutely ridiculous Canada Revenue Agency. All right. And for those who do have a corporation that has GST, PST, HST, payroll debt, credit card debt, any debts whatsoever, sell me your corporation. Just go over to my name, kevinjjohnston.biz, kevinjjohnston.biz, fill out the form, and we will get that corporation taken off your hands within 3 weeks. All right. You get to start over. You get to clear all your debts out with me and start over. It's a good feeling, folks. I've been there before where I've had to start over. It's great to walk away from debt. All your stress disappears in a 3-week span. The day we sign the final contract, everything is golden. Everything. Okay. So let me just have a quick peek here at the Facebook page. How do you hold physical gold and silver in a corporation? Easier than you think, right? The best part about having assets that you want to move into a corporation is you don't need a lawyer for it. You simply list each and every asset, like gold bars, if it's bullion, will have serial numbers. So you list every single serial number and simply swear the list in. You swear it in. Let your notary public file it with the courts, and congratulations, your entire listing of gold and silver and gems and pearls and whatever else are now officially inside of that corporation until you write a new affidavit canceling the old affidavit. You just don't need lawyers anymore. Lawyers are going out of business big time, and I'm glad they are, because Canadian lawyers suck. They just suck. It's ridiculous that I'm better than any tax lawyer I've ever spoken to. And it's ridiculous that I'm better than every single CPA that I've ever spoken to. I am worried and bothered by just how many CPAs out there and lawyers seem like they work for the CRA. They just don't want to fight against the Canada Revenue Agency on any of your behalf. Well, what the hell are you paying them for? That drives me mental. The other reason I had to leave Canada, everybody, is I can't solve problems within Canada because the lawyers are awful. So I left and do it myself now. Just how it is. Pam, my bank asks my business financial every year, so I have to do taxes. They would do that if you've got a HELOC or a separate loan or some type of private deal with them. Then they're going to ask you for all of that information. Navio, are we going to do something in the USA together? Or what do you have in mind? Let me hear it. And in the email box here, no, I am not married, and no, I do not want to be married, and no, I'm not accepting applications at this time. I'm just not. I love making money, ladies, and I really do. When I was 18, I never would have said this, but I love sleeping alone at night. All right, it's quiet time. No, there's no application that you can fill out. All right. Thank you, KDM. I'm looking forward to that. AI is better than lawyers. Yeah, but you have to train AI. However, if you take a couple of months and train it, it absolutely is better than lawyers and so-called professionals in just about every single solitary walk of life. My God, those 2 hours just absolutely flew. Thanks for being here, everybody. I greatly appreciate that. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on freedomreport.ca.